Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
By the time my wife tried to sell my favorite piece of land out from under me, I still thought she was my guardian angel. I know how that sounds. Dude, you're 40, not 14. How do you still think something like that? Trust me, I ask myself the same question. My name's Victor Delgado. I build things for a living. Not apps, not websites, actual, physical things. Steel, glass, concrete, the whole mess. People call me a developer. My mother calls me the boy who never got a real job. The bank calls me Mr. Delgado and offers me coffee with my loans. At 40, I'd done pretty well. Couple of high-rise residentials in Miami, a mixed-use project everyone said would bankrupt me and didn't, a handful of smaller deals. I wasn't Bezos, but if a hurricane hit my house, I'd be annoyed, not ruined. And through all of it, there was Camilla. I met her when I was 28, standing in line at a zoning board meeting. That's how you know I'm a real romantic. I meet women next to people arguing about parking minimums. She was there advocating for some historic preservation nonsense that interfered directly with my plans to tear down a moldy old motel and replace it with something that didn't smell like regret. "You're Victor Delgado, right?" she'd asked, pushing her hair behind her ear. "Depends," I'd said. "Are you here to yell at me about shade lines or traffic?" She tilted her head. "I'm here to make sure you don't destroy the last decent building on that strip." "Then no," I said. "Never heard of him." She laughed. I was done. Just like that. Camilla was smart and sharp-tongued and could read a 100-page city report like it was a gossip magazine. She had a way of looking at me when I got excited about a project that made me feel like I wasn't insane for wanting to stack glass boxes on top of each other for profit. She'd grown up here too, Miami kid, Cuban parents, big family, loud dinners. But where my family chipped away at my dreams, mijo, maybe just buy a house and be normal, hers seemed strangely impressed I could read a proforma. When we started dating, she'd show up to my meetings with sketches, notes, little lists of questions. "Have you thought about making those units flexible for short-term rentals? Why are you letting your partner handle all investor relations if you're the one taking the risk? Do you even read these loan covenants?" She wasn't just my girlfriend. She was my unofficial CFO, PR, and emotional damage control. By the time we got married, my friends were calling her my angel, half joking, half serious. "I swear, man, you were a walking bankruptcy before Camilla," my buddy Luis said once. "Now you got actual spreadsheets." He wasn't wrong. So yeah, I believed in her. Maybe more than I believed in myself. Which made what happened with the ocean lot complicated. The lot came first, actually. Before the high-rises, before the mixed-use, before I had any idea what net operating income meant. I bought it when I was 24, this weird, skinny strip of land on a little rise overlooking the ocean, about 45 minutes north of the city. A retired orthodontist owned it. He was planning to build his dream house, but his wife hated the salt air and they divorced. I gave him an offer that was basically my entire life savings plus a loan my bank officer called ambitious. "Victor," he'd said, "this is not a smart first acquisition. It's just land. Nothing on it. No income." "I know," I'd said. "But have you seen the view?" It wasn't some wide public beach, either. It was this quiet, rocky stretch, more locals than tourists. The waves crashed harder up there, white foam against dark rocks. It felt almost private. Like the universe's front porch. I told myself I'd build my dream house there someday. Then I got busy building everyone else's dreams instead. The lot just sat there. Year after year. I'd pay the property taxes, drive up sometimes, park on the side of the road, climb the little path, and stand there like a pilgrim, looking at the water. Someday, I'd say in my head. Someday, when I'm not scrambling to keep the lights on. When I married Camilla, I took her there. She stood with her hands on her hips, wind whipping her hair around, and whistled. "You're holding out on me, Delgado." "This is for us," I said, suddenly sure. "One day." She smiled, this big, bright thing that hit me right in the chest. "I'll hold you to that," she said. We carved our initials into a little palm tree on the edge of the property. V+C. Real corny. Real happy. So when she started talking about selling it, I was surprised. At first it was casual. We were eating dinner at this Italian place we liked, too expensive, too loud, tables too close together, perfect. She was scrolling through something on her phone while I sketched on a napkin, trying to work out parking ratios for a new project. "You know," she said, "the market up by the ocean lots is insane right now." I said, drawing another little rectangle. She nudged me with her foot. "I'm serious. I saw a listing for a smaller parcel than yours. Went for way over asking. Developers are circling." "Developers are always circling," I said. "I know. I'm one of them." She smiled. "You're a very specific kind of developer. The ones up there are, let's say, more ruthless." "Ah," I said, "the shark variety." "Exactly," she said. "And sharks pay." I shrugged. "Good for them." She set her phone down. "Vic, maybe it's time to cash out on that place." I stopped drawing. "Cash out," I repeated. "On the ocean lot?" "Yes," she said. "You've been sitting on it for, what, 16 years. It's sentimental, I get it. But sentiment doesn't pay interest." "What would we even do with the money?" I asked. "I'm not exactly short of projects." "We could delever," she said. God, I loved when she talked like that. "Refinance some of your more aggressive loans, strengthen your balance sheet. Or invest in something that actually produces income right now." "It will produce something," I said. "Someday. It's ours." She sighed. "Victor, land doesn't have feelings. It doesn't know you come up there to brood and be poetic. It's a line on a spreadsheet." She wasn't wrong, exactly. But something in me bristled. "Let's think about it," I said, and changed the subject. Only she didn't drop it. She brought it up again a week later. Then the week after that. She'd slide brochures across the table. "Look what Ocean Crest Developments is offering per square foot." She'd text me articles about record-setting coastal sales. "You're leaving money on the table," she'd say, in that half-joking, half-serious way. "Lots of money." "I like the table," I'd reply. "It has a nice view." She'd roll her eyes. The more she pushed, the more dug in I got. It wasn't logical. She had excellent points. That lot was a non-producing asset in a portfolio that had gotten increasingly complex and leveraged. Selling it could have cleaned up my balance sheet, made banks more comfortable. But it was my place. Our place. The one constant in a life of scaffolds and cranes and financing rounds. "I'm just thinking of your future," she said one night. "Our future." I kissed her forehead. Our future is up there, looking at the waves, not in some quarterly report. She didn't smile at that like she used to. When you work in development long enough, people talk to you. Not just big money people. The small ones. The electricians. The guys at the permit counter. The bartender who pours for all your subcontractors. So when two separate friends hinted that my wife was spending a lot of time with my business partner, I listened. Not at first. At first, I laughed it off. My partner's name was Dean Palmer. Stanford MBA, perfect hair, handshake like a politician. We'd met at a charity gala, of all places, back when I still thought synergy wasn't a red flag word. Dean ran an investment group. He was the money guy, I was the dirt and concrete guy. Our first deal together went well. Second one, too. We had a rhythm, he charmed investors, I charmed inspectors. He loved spreadsheets, I loved site plans. He also loved the idea of that ocean lot. "You're emotionally attached," he'd say. "I get it. But you're also a businessman, Vic. There's a number that makes you forget all about that view." "I haven't seen it yet," I'd say. "Let me bring you an offer," he'd say. "Just let me bring something to the table. No obligation." I'd shrug. "Fine. Bring me a lottery ticket too." So Dean knowing about the lot wasn't weird. Camilla knowing about Dean wasn't weird either. We'd all been in the same rooms 100 times. Dinners, drinks, meetings. But the bartender at my usual spot pulled me aside one night. "You know Camilla was in here with Dean last week, right?" he said, drying a glass. "Just the two of them. Looked cozy." I laughed. "They probably met to talk about me. I'm terrible to deal with." He didn't laugh back. "Maybe," he said. "Just thought you should know." A week later, my friend Luis caught me after a pickup basketball game, hands on his knees, sweating. "Can I say something without you punching me?" he asked. "Depends how bad it is," I said. "It's Camilla," he said. "And Dean." I felt my stomach drop. "What about them?" "They've been seen," he said. "Dinners. Drinks. Not group settings. My cousin is bookkeeping for one of Dean's LLCs. She says Camilla's name is all over some stuff that doesn't make sense." "Like what?" "Like consulting fees to a CD Advisors that was formed 6 months ago with Camilla's home address," he said. I didn't want to believe it. But with her pushing that sale, I don't know, man. Just be careful. I felt this weird buzzing in my ears. Like someone had turned on a fluorescent light inside my skull. "You sure?" I asked. "I wish I wasn't," he said. That night, I asked Camilla about it. "Have you been meeting with Dean without me?" I said casually as we cleaned up after dinner. She stiffened, just a little. "Sometimes. He calls with questions. It's easier to grab coffee than play phone tag." "About my projects," I said. "About your overall strategy," she said. "Which you know I help you with. What's your point?" "The point is, you're suddenly very eager to sell the one asset Dean's been licking his chops over for years," I said. "And people are talking." Her eyes flashed. "Oh, people are talking? That's your evidence? Barstool gossip? You of all people know what rumors are like in this town." "So there's nothing going on," I said. "Victor," she said, exasperated, "if I wanted to cheat on you, do you really think I'd choose your business partner? The guy who wears cufflinks to brunch? Please." I wanted to believe her. I did. So I let it go. Mostly. The line that finally snapped something in me came a week later. Dean had miraculously found a buyer for the lot. Some offshore fund with more money than sense. The offer was stupid. Double what I thought it was worth. Enough to clean up my entire balance sheet and leave a pile of cash. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the draft sale agreement open on my laptop. Dean had emailed it to both of us, plus a bunch of lawyers. "This is a gift," Camilla said, scrolling. "They're overpaying. Take it." "It's not just about the money," I said. "We've been over this." She dropped her hands on the table. "You keep saying that like it's some noble stance. It's business, Vic. You hold out for too long, sometimes the market doesn't come back. Ask anyone who sat on Florida lots in 2008. "I didn't," I said. "I bought more." "And you got lucky," she shot back. "You made bold moves, and they paid off. Great. But you act like that makes you infallible. Newsflash, you're not the genius you think you are." That one stung, because it came from the person who'd spent years hyping me up. "I never said I was a genius," I said. "I just know what feels right. And selling that lot to some faceless fund so they can slap up cookie-cutter luxury condos doesn't feel right." She laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You know who actually knows how to handle money?" she said. "Dean. He understands risk. Leverage. Timing. He knows when to get out. He doesn't get sentimental about dirt. He knows how to treat money, unlike you." The room went very quiet after that. "Unlike you. Dean knows how to handle money. You don't." I felt something hot and ugly flare in my chest. Anger, sure. But underneath it, something heavier. Betrayal. Not just of me as a husband, but as the guy who'd clawed his way up from kid whose dad fixed cars in a strip mall to guy who signs both sides of the checks. But I didn't say anything. I closed the laptop slowly. "Okay," I said. "I'll review it." She nodded, satisfied. Folder closed. argument over in her mind. In mine, something very different had just begun. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the waves crashing against that rocky shoreline. The little palm tree with our carved initials. Camilla laughing in the wind, telling me she'd hold me to my promise. He knows how to treat money, unlike you. I stared at the ceiling in the dark and felt something shift. I build cities. That's what I do. Maybe not entire cities, but pieces of them. Blocks. Skylines. Places people live, work, fight, fall in love, ruin their lives, fix them again. I don't fall from them. The thought came fully formed, stupidly dramatic, like a movie trailer voiceover, but it lodged itself in my chest. I build cities. I don't fall from them. If I could shepherd a $200 million project through permitting, financing, construction delays, and a hurricane, I could figure out what the hell was going on with one piece of land and the people circling it. So I did what I should have done from the beginning. I read the paperwork. All of it. Not just the sale agreement, but every document attached to it. The LLCs, the side letters, the consulting agreements. I pulled Dean's previous term sheets. Compared clauses. Called my lawyer, told him to send me everything in plain English. The more I read, the more my stomach twisted. On the surface, it looked legitimate. Buyer was an investment vehicle registered in Delaware, capitalized by some global fund. Fine. Normal. Welcome to American real estate. But buried in the back was a consulting arrangement with a small firm called CD Strategy Partners. 10% of the sale price as a success fee for advisory services rendered in connection with the acquisition. 10%. On a multi-million-dollar sale. For advisory services. I googled CD Strategy Partners. The address was a mailbox in a strip mall. The state registration listed one manager. Camilla Delgado. My wife. It got worse. There were emails between Dean and Camilla, copied to a generic-sounding admin, discussing structuring the advisory fee to minimize Victor's questions and keeping the seller entity clean. I stared at the screen, hands cold. They weren't just trying to talk me into selling. They'd carved themselves a secret side deal. My wife and my partner. 10% of my land's value, siphoned off the top into her LLC. She knew I'd never agree to that if it were above board. Which meant she was counting on me not noticing. The woman I'd called my guardian angel had set up a private exit ramp for herself. She was sure I was too busy, too trusting, too enamored with the idea of her brilliance to catch it. Unlike you. I sat there in the muted blue light of my laptop and felt my anger crystallize into something clean. This wasn't just about sex. Or some cliché affair with a business partner. This was about money. Power. Respect. You don't mess with a developer's dirt. Not like this. So I made some calls. To my lawyer. To a friend in law enforcement. To a reporter I'd met at a charity event who'd once told me, if anyone ever tries to screw you in this town, call me first. Are you sure you want to go nuclear? My lawyer asked. I'm sure I don't want to keep pretending this is normal, I said. We put a plan together. Carefully. Quietly. If Dean and Camilla wanted a show at the closing table, I'd give them one. Just not the one they were expecting. Real estate closings are usually boring. A bunch of people in a beige room, signing stacks of paper, pretending the coffee isn't terrible. Someone makes a joke about carpal tunnel. Someone else brings cookies. This one was different. We met at a downtown law firm. Big conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the bay. Dean was there in a crisp suit, cufflinks shining, smile set to winning. Camilla sat beside him, hair perfect, expression calm. The buyer's rep sat across the table, some guy in a suit too nice for his age. Victor, Dean said, standing to clap me on the shoulder. Big day, my friend. Yeah, I said. Huge. I caught Camilla's eye. For a second, I thought I saw something flicker. Guilt? Nerves? Hard to tell. She smiled anyway. This is the best move for you, she said softly. You'll see. Oh, I think I will, I said. The lawyer started going through the documents. Purchase and sale agreement, deed transfer, non-foreign affidavit. I pretended to listen. I'd already heard it all. I knew the cadence. The rhythm. I knew exactly where in his script he'd turn to me and say, "And we have the consulting agreement here," and slide the CD Strategy Partners doc across like it was no big deal. I waited. And finally, he said, "We have the consulting agreement with CD Strategy." The door opened. Two uniformed officers walked in, followed by a plainclothes detective I recognized from our late-night coffee. Behind them, a short woman with a press badge and a camera crew. The room froze. "Can I help you?" the lawyer asked, voice going up half an octave. "Sorry to interrupt," the detective said, flashing his badge. "We're looking for Dean Palmer." Dean's smile faltered. "That's me," he said, trying to sound casual. "What is this?" The detective set a folder on the table, right on top of the consulting agreement. "Mr. Palmer, we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud," he said. "Related to multiple real estate transactions, including this one." The camera's red light stared at us like a tiny, unblinking eye. "What?" Dean laughed, but it sounded thin. "This is someone's made a mistake." "We're happy to discuss that downtown," the detective said. "For now, I'm going to need you to stand up and place your hands behind your back." The journalist's eyes were wide, practically glowing. This was better than any charity gala. "Vic, do something," Dean said, turning to me, panic creeping in. "Tell them. This is just structuring. Everyone does it. The consulting fee, the advisory entity. The shell companies?" The detective supplied. "The fake invoices? The side agreements that diverted funds without disclosure to investors or lenders?" Dean's face went chalk white. "You set me up," he hissed at me. "No," I said calmly. "You set yourself up. I just made some calls." "They cuffed him." He sputtered, argued, threatened to sue everyone in the room. The camera caught it all. Then the detective turned to Camilla. "Mrs. Delgado," he said. "I'm going to need you to come in for questioning as well, regarding your role in CD Strategy Partners." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. I didn't know it was illegal," she stammered. "Dean said it was standard. A success fee. Everyone gets paid. It's my husband's land, I was just helping." "Your husband," the detective said, glancing at me, "was not informed about the fee. Or the LLC. Or the side agreement. That makes it a problem." Her eyes flew to mine, wide, pleading. "Victor, tell him," she said. "Tell him we were going to share it with you. Eventually. It was just." I raised an eyebrow. "We?" She swallowed. I mean it was complicated. We were protecting you from yourself. From your emotional attachment. The money would have been mine," I said. "Legally. As the seller. Which is why you tried to sneak your own LLC in between me and my own property." The lawyer looked like he wanted to slide under the table and disappear. "Mrs. Delgado," the detective said, "you're not under arrest at this time. But I'd strongly advise you to come down voluntarily and have a lawyer present. We can do this the easy way or the hard way." The journalist zoomed in on her face. She recoiled like the lens had teeth. I need to make a call," she whispered. "You'll have time," the detective said. They walked Dean out. The camera followed. The buyer's rep sat there, stunned, clearly recalculating his life choices. The lawyer started gathering papers with shaky hands. "I think," I said into the stunned silence, "we're going to pause this closing." No one argued. The fallout was intense. The story hit the local news first, then some national business blogs. Real estate star arrested in fraud probe. They ran footage of Dean being walked out in cuffs, then old B-roll of our past projects. My name came up, of course, but more as the partner who blew the whistle. The journalist I'd tipped off was careful. She made it clear I'd cooperated. That I was the one who brought the CD Strategy scheme to light. Camilla's name came up too. Wife of developer tied to shell company used in alleged fraud. Not the headline you want under your LinkedIn profile. Her accounts were frozen pending investigation. The consulting fee obviously never got paid. Her advisory business evaporated overnight. She moved out of our house within a week. "You humiliated me," she said, suitcases by the door. "You humiliated yourself," I said. "I just stopped you from taking 10% of something you already had 100% access to." "You could have handled it privately," she snapped. "We could have fixed it. You didn't have to bring the police, the press." "Would that have stopped you from meeting him behind my back?" I asked. "From setting up shell companies? From telling me I don't know how to handle money while you skim off the top?" She went quiet. "I believed in you," I said. "More than I believed in myself sometimes. You were supposed to be my partner. Not my parasite." For a second, I thought she might cry. Or apologize. Or say any of the words that make betrayal feel less like a knife and more like a paper cut. She didn't. "You'll regret this," she said instead. "You think investors will flock to you after this? You were the face of his deals too. They won't care who knew what. They'll just see mess." "Maybe," I said. "But at least I'll see myself in the mirror." She left. I watched her drive away and felt empty. Not dramatic movie empty. Just quiet. Like someone turned the volume down on my life. Our friends picked sides. Some stayed neutral, which is its own kind of choosing. My mother said, "I never liked how she talked over you," which would have been useful information 5 years ago. Through it all, the ocean lot sat there. Unbothered. Waves crashing, wind blowing, taxes due. The buyer's offer dissolved, obviously. No one wanted to touch a transaction attached to an active fraud investigation. Which left me with a piece of land that had almost been used to rob me and the question of what to do with it now. A year later, I stood on that same rocky rise, blueprints in my hand, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. And maybe a little vindictive joy. The investigations wrapped up slowly, the way white-collar things do. Dean took a plea deal. Less time in exchange for cooperation. Some of that cooperation involved naming other people he'd run similar schemes with. Camilla didn't go to prison. The DA decided her role was more willfully ignorant accomplice than mastermind. But she lost a lot. Her reputation in the development world? Gone. The bank accounts she'd tried to use to stage her exit? Seized as part of the settlement. The house. In my name, purchased long before our marriage. The cars? In LLCs I controlled. Legally, she walked away with some personal belongings and a divorce settlement that was modest, considering the way she'd tried to play me. She moved to a smaller city. I heard she was working some mid-level job in a property management firm, complaining to anyone who'd listen about how unfair it all was. Me? I went back to what I do best. I built. Not a condo tower for rich foreigners. Not a bland luxury residence with a concierge and perfectly identical balconies. I built a villa. Just one house. Big, yes, let's not pretend I suddenly became humble, but personal. Thoughtful. A place that actually made sense on that land, instead of maximizing every buildable square foot. The design was simple, clean lines, lots of glass, but not that flashy Miami glass that looks like a sunglasses ad. Warm wood, white stucco, big terraces. Every main room with a view of the water. A pool that looked like it spilled into the ocean. A small guest house. An outdoor kitchen because I am still a man from South Florida and we grill. I worked with an architect I liked, not the one who always told me what investors wanted to hear. I argued about windows and sun angles and whether the path down to the rocks should be steps or a gentle ramp. I went up there during construction, hard hat on, boots in the dirt, and watched as the house took shape. The crew joked that I was more obsessed with this single villa than I had ever been with 30-story towers. "This one's for me," I'd say. "You only get one shot at your midlife crisis house." When it was finally done, landscaping in, furniture delivered, the last painter gone, I stood at the edge of the terrace at sunset and tried to think of what to call it. Because you have to name a house like that. It's a rule somewhere. Fortress Victor was too much, even for my ego. Second Chance sounded like a rehab center. Karma's Edge felt like a bad reality show. In the end, the name came to me on a quiet night, standing out there alone, listening to the waves. Solitude Point. It fit. Not because I wanted to be alone forever. I didn't. I had friends. Family. Maybe someday someone new. I wasn't going full hermit. But for the first time in my adult life, I felt okay with my own company. I didn't need a guardian angel to tell me what moves to make. I didn't need a partner to validate every decision. I'd caught the con, taken the hit, and still come out standing. I build cities, I said to no one, the ocean wind stealing my words. I don't fall from them. I had been stupid. Blind. Too trusting. Those things were true. But I wasn't helpless. Friends still came by, of course. Luis visited, walked out on the terrace, whistled. "Damn, Delgado," he said. "If this is what betrayal gets you, cheat on me anytime." "Please don't say that near my insurance guy," I said. We grilled. We drank. We told the story, laughing in that way you can only laugh at something when the worst of it is behind you. Remember when your wife and your partner tried to rob you on your own land? Remember when the cops walked into the closing? Remember Dean's face when they said wire fraud? Yeah. I remembered. It still hurt, sometimes. Late at night. I'd think about that girl at the zoning board meeting, the one who challenged me about the old motel. I'd wonder where she went. If she was always destined to turn into someone who valued a side fee more than a shared dream. But then the sun would come up. The waves would crash. The house would stand. And I'd remember that I am, at the end of all this, exactly what I set out to be. A guy who builds. So if there's a moral here, beyond don't let your wife and your partner set up an LLC together, it's this. Read the contracts. Trust your instincts. And never, ever let someone convince you you're bad with money while they're quietly skimming 10%. Oh, and if you ever find yourself standing at the edge of a cliff in your own life, wondering if you're about to fall, remember, you build cities. You don't fall from them. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.